Hello. On this video I'd like to walk you through the SpinFX IT Easy Suite 2022 R1 release overview for Easy Go Live. So through this release we've focused on three key areas. Firstly, gaps in existing functionality. A good example of that is being able to create or update info types was not easy to do and not possible through the tool. And that's now been added into the solution. Secondly, simplicity. We've made it easier in the way that we execute parallel runs and also deliver the setup of the tool. Thirdly, usability. And we've given more control to the tool itself and how you use it, being able to split up data by teams, being able to analyze remote system results, audit logs and other types of functionality. So let's jump into a few slides just to have a look at how this all works and what's been delivered. So firstly, the info type updates. So most implementations, especially new implementations, will need to update and create info types from data from the legacy file. So that's been made possible through Easy Reporter Easy Go Live. So for those customers that have Easy Go Live, there will be a new flag that you can turn on at a user level, which gives you ability to update info type records. Uses Easy Reporter as the back end to do this, but this functionality is only available for customers with Easy Go Live. So the way this works is that the flag gets turned on at the user level, and that will add this extra menu, info type update. In here you can select the info type you actually want to update. And then you can essentially map fields from either a report or an import file to the info type itself. So for example, here we're just updating a particular wage type with a certain value. We're using dates from specific dates, and we're using information directly from a report. So this allows you to really bypass and speed up the data loads without necessarily creating info types or BDC uploads or code to do this yourself. When you run the report, it will give you a warning that there's info type updates. By default, it will run that in simulation mode, so you can test the data before you run that. And when you run a test mode, it will give you any errors or any warnings that may have happened, the employee numbers, the info types that's being updated, and so on. So it's quite detailed in terms of what is shown and allows you to troubleshoot this before you do the final update. Into the future, we'll add new automatic uploads, pre-delivered reports to do this, but at the moment you can build these on the fly for an implementation. Secondly is when we're doing remote comparisons, especially to an existing SAP system, it's possible now for us to pre-deliver these with automatically set up with so that the first run that you will always execute may be going to a remote system, and subsequent runs will be looking at the current system. So previously you had to set these up in variants, so it meant that when we pre-delivered our menus such as this, it meant that you would have to go and edit each report and set up the RFCs details into each individual report as variants. Now, when we actually execute the report, what we can do is we can specify the remote system that is used for all of the reports. So if you had 20 info type comparison reports, you can specify the remote system at that point in time, and they will just be and that will be used for each of the individual reports to get the comparison results. So it speeds up. It means that essentially you can run the report straight out of the box with no setup. The third one is when you do set up the reports yourself and your scenarios yourself, often you want to reorder things and move things around. So that's been made possible on the scenario setup screen now. And you can drag and drop folders or reports into order that you want, and also into particular folders if you want to consolidate folders and so The next one is when we execute a automation testing run. Previously, we had on the screen all of the options to create a new run, to rerun an existing run, or to see runs that have already been existed. We've changed the way that works because it was quite confusing for users, especially those who were just looking at existing runs. So what we've done is we've made a few changes here. First is we've consolidated the essentially the first view you will see is all of the runs that have already been performed in the past. So these are just so this will allow you just to come in, see the runs that are there, and edit those runs and view the results. You only see the most recent run. If you want to see all scenarios, so if there was 10 different runs for maybe a particular parallel run, you can tick this box to still see all of the prior runs, but by default you'll only see the most recent run. So when you are in this screen and you want to actually then run a new comparison, you can just be clicked on the scenario you actually want to run and click the execute new comparison run. It defaults in most of the values, as you can see, and just allows you to put in the description and execute the run. We've also simplified this screen because as over time we've added additional advanced options, and we've hidden them down behind this button. So that will clicking the button will expand these out and give you more control as to how you flow the statuses and notes and other things from the prior run. But by default, it will use the most logical option, which is to flow the values from the previous run into the current run. The screen has also been altered to allow you to actually set scenario runs as complete. So by default, this screen will only show the in-progress runs. So assuming you've finished with a comparison run and you don't want to see it and have it crowding the screen, you can just click on that run and set the status to complete. That just simplifies the screen. You can also then, it doesn't mean it's gone, it's just hidden behind the scenes. So you can actually select the include completed scenario runs, and that will just show them in the list again. As you can see, the complete run is shown then. So that sort of simplifies the execution screen. Now, when we're actually looking at the results, previously when you ran, we're looking at the results from both the current and original system, so your legacy system and your current system. When you clicked on areas such as the Easy Help Desk link, and we've actually just, instead of calling this Easy Help Desk, we've just shortened the description to investigate to make more room on the screen. But previously when you clicked on the buttons, when you clicked on the current button or the original button, as you can see the current and original, they would always run at the Easy Help Desk or any additional reports from the current system. Now it actually will go to the remote system if you're on the original system. So it will actually go to wherever the data came from. This allows you to then, for example, compare employees between the two systems if you're getting different results without having to necessarily log into that system directly. Okay, so also with the statuses that you would have seen previously, we've and this is actually partly in the prior release, but we did this halfway through the release as part of a customer enhancement. But essentially we've added in a few things here. So you've still got your statuses. So by clicking on the status button, you can change the status. But you now have this additional option where you can specify status reason codes. And these can be defined in a tree control. So this allows you to say, something's an error, but it might be data related, or it's a known, it's a incorrect work schedule, or something's missing, or it's a conversion issue. So this gives you the ability to limit down this data. you can enter in the case numbers, and on the same screen you can also enter in the long text. So previously we had the notes section, and we still have the notes section, but either way, if you click on the status, you can still see and enter the notes in there. So you don't have to kind of go in and out of different screens. So this is all controlled, and this is not default. You can control this. So when you set up the scenario, you can actually say whether you include these things or you don't include these things on the screen. So we've added quite a lot of flexibility there. Okay, so for those who are using this tool, and especially in a larger environment and a group, and especially if you're using this for not just parallel runs, but also support pack testing and other things, often you want to know who's been in there, who's changed things, if somebody did a bulk status change, who did it, why did they do it, and things, and being able to see and track down what's actually caused the change. So we've added the audit logs ability. So everything that you change in the tool is tracked back to an audit log. And by clicking this menu, the audit logs and audit log report allows you to put in a date range and selection criteria and bring up a report that essentially shows you what's been changed. So for example, who made certain changes, entered in new values, and we can actually see the user ID that did that. Moving along, for more complex customers, especially when you're in doing a parallel run that has maybe multiple countries or multiple states and different types of employees, often you want to break those employees up so that somebody's looking at the salaried employees, somebody's looking at the weekly employees, some of them are looking at particular states of the country, and so on. So what you can do is essentially control now, based on rules that you build, who will be assigned to certain things. So for example, here we're showing 3 key areas, and we can see that for this first area, and it's based on personnel area, that these 2 users, when they log into the tool, will see just this personnel area, and all of the data will be automatically split up into these different teams. So this is completely configurable. You can essentially select from info type 1, 7 and 8 any field and put in the selection criteria including ands and ors. So you might say, I want this personnel area and this sub area to be in a group, and then you can say who's assigned to that group. Or you might say this payroll area, and these are the people assigned to this payroll area. As I say, it's completely configurable. So when you actually do this and you set up the teams, so you set up the team itself using the prior screen. In this screen here, you then assign the team to the scenario, and when you run the scenario, what it will do is it will automatically break that up. So I've logged in as myself, and I actually have access to all teams, so I'm like an administrator. I can see everything that's happened, but this allows me as an administrator to actually see who's done what, how many errors there are, how many mismatches, how many corrections have been done. I can still drill into those. But if a user was just assigned to the AU01 personnel area, they would just see that. So it allows them to really focus on what they need to be looking at. Next one is the error icons. So previously, when you ran a scenario group, you had essentially either an error of mismatch or matched. So that either meant it was it matched completely or it mismatched completely. What we've now done is we've added the ability when you set up your own reports to actually allow you to create your own column. Previously you had this ability to create the column, but you could only put errors into it. Now you can link these to any of the status codes. So what this means is that when we run this, we can actually have error statuses. Maybe, for example, it might be that you you're doing a pay comparison and you want to show anything more than $5 difference is an error, and anything less than $5, between $0 and $5, is a warning. So you can actually set the status of a warning, and what this will do is it will actually control the status. So these ones here that have a really large value might be anything above 70,000, in this case is the way I've set it up, is causing it to be an error, and anything under 70,000 is coming up with a different icon. So this just allows you to control these much easier. Now, as part of Easy Go Live, what we've done is we've included 50 reports for you to build your own custom report. So we still deliver all of the pre-delivered configuration, but we've allowed you up to 50 blank reports to build your own comparisons, your own investigation reports, and so on. Now, with those reports, essentially one thing that we've done, because it actually is using pretty much Easy Reporter, we've limited those so to be able to be run only for 50 employees. So if you run it through Easy Go Live and through the audit screens and the scenario screens through Easy Go Live, it will run on the full population. But if you're running it just for, if you're as part of building the report and directly from the menus, it will only be restricted to 50 employees. So that's just simply to control, the differences between Easy Reporter and the Easy Go Live solution. If you have Easy Reporter, you can obviously build full reports. Now, these reports sit under the Customer Reports menu, and as I mentioned, there's 50 blank reports. As you save them, you can give them your own name and so on. So that's just a quick summary of the release itself. These are the specific change requests. If you need to drill into any further details, and we'll be bringing out further documentation, videos on this. All of this should be also in Zendesk if you in our help portal if you need to see more detail. Okay, thanks for listening.